And just a little bit about Dr. Kat. First of all, she is a pediatric and perinatal chiropractor. She is up for her certification in functional medicine right now, but she's been a chiropractor for 19 years, has her own practice. She's the mom of two, a holistic mama, married to Thad. So Dr. Kat, are you there? Dr. Kat, she knows so much about this topic. She's going to tell you and share with you how big a deal this Nrf2 activation is.
First of all, thanks for the introduction. You're such a leader, and you're so much of an inspiration to me. How I got involved is a pediatric OT and MFR specialist, Niall, shared this information with me when they were pregnant with their third child, and we connected in my office at a birth workers event. Niall shared about Nrf2 activation, etc. And what really caught me at the end, because I wasn't interested in anything that I hadn't heard of. So there's a measure of ego involved in how much time doctors spend in school. And especially when you've been through a lot of autoimmune health issues, etc., you feel like you've done it all and heard it all. And so even though I didn't think I had ego wrapped around it, at one point Niall said, you know, you have an onus on you to share this information with people, or at least be aware of it. And it was that kind of challenge, if you will, that kind of got me into learning a little bit more about it gradually, with multiple touches to keep me intrigued and up to date on the research, etc. I would love to share with you a little bit that I put together about Nrf2 activation. But what I put together here were slides actually from the most recent 2 modules that I have attended in the Institute for Functional Medicine, which is regarded as the highest level of functional medicine training, which is root cause medicine. And so 2018 and 2019 information, and even they don't have what we have. So a little bit about Nrf2 activation. So as we know, oxidative stress is the process of making free radicals. We have less enzymes, we end up with more cellular disease. And then our body's exposed to so much junk, right? Pollutants, radiation, Wi-Fi, chemicals, etc. And antioxidants are not enough to do it anymore. And we also know that our product, which actually first, I think, was around since 2003 when it was created, is the most potent activator of this pathway that helps to combat oxidative stress. Drugs are not synergistic. They only activate single molecules in a pathway. And what's cool about what we have is its synergistic effect, which I'll talk a little bit more about at the end. Protandim turns on and upregulates good genes via that pathway called Nrf2, and turns off bad genes and pro-inflammatory genes via a pathway called NF-kappa B. So we're going to talk about those 2 pathways shortly. So what's a free radical? Basically, a free radical is when oxygen molecule splits and you end up with 2 unpaired electrons, and they're free radicals because they're not attached, and they like to be attached. So they are going to search for something to become a pair with, and this damages cells, proteins, and basically DNA. So moving on, we've probably all seen this, the formation of free radicals. I'm going to repeat it a few times because it needs to sink in. A lot of people know, okay, we should be careful of the sun and put our sunscreen on, and smoking is bad for you, and eating unhealthy food is bad for you, and sucking in air pollution is bad for you. But one thing that we're not being as careful with is our Wi-Fi and technology usage. And folks, this is a really powerful conversation piece. I think especially in this world of social media, I would say that getting people's attention with regards to the leveraging of what we have versus the cell damage that's happening from exposure to Wi-Fi and EMFs. And if you're not aware of it, then pay attention. These are pretty scary pictures, but I'll just explain that basically when you have exposure to EMFs specifically, although myriad toxins, a variety of chemical reactions happen, and then we make peroxynitrite, if you see it down in the middle there, and then that forms free radicals, oxidative stress, and then ramps up inflammation. Everybody else knows it in inflammation, but one of the biggest pathways for inflammation is called NF-kappa beta, NF-kappa B. So basically, it's recommended, and this little quote up here in the corner is from that article that I attached down there at the bottom. If you type into Google Mercola and Nrf2, it'll pull up this article explaining that basically Nrf2 activation is one of the key things that we can do to combat Wi-Fi damage and free radical damage from that. Here's a visual above on one side of injury, whether it's oxidative injury from EMFs or injuries from a car accident or chemicals, and then the formation of free radicals leading to oxidative stress. If you like fancy lists, there's the list right here. TNF-alpha, decreased folate in your diet, decreased glutathione, decreased carnitine consumption, decreased CoQ10. I don't know anything that has CoQ10 in it, maybe Nrf2, and some other B vitamins, I don't know, maybe Axio. And so our exposure to the environment is causing us to be attacked at a much higher rate now than ever before. Which leads me to talk about the free radical theory of aging. It is one of the theories of aging. But what I found when I was researching different theories of aging is that they always go back at some point to inflammation. And since inflammation is impacted by oxidative stress, I think it's pretty clear, at least to all of us who are aging in reverse in a way with Nrf2, that this is a pretty accurate, at least by experience, free radical theory of aging. So that's a visual there on how it happens. Basically, cell death happens and our cells are unhappy. They're rusting from the inside out. They have poor functioning motors in the mitochondria, and it's happening from our environment. As I mentioned before, there's the NF-kappa B pathway on one side that, as you can see, if you just follow the chart, inflammatory things, reactive oxidative species leads to the change in inflammation in your DNA. And that leads to cell death and inflammation, more inflammation. But on the other side there, when you get a little bit of stimulation from oxidative stress, Nrf2 keep one pathway reduces your oxidative stress and increases the good endogenous antioxidants, which we'll talk about. So a little bit more about our not so happy friend, NF-kappa B. It's a rapid-acting primary transcription factor. It's found in most cell types in an inactive state. That means it has to be activated for you to get unhealthy. So take a look at your environment, your traumas, toxins, thoughts, technology, and tethers in your body and in your tissues and in your fascia. Upon induction, binds to the DNA and promotes inflammatory gene transcription, and it's the central regulator of intracellular immune response. So even autoimmune conditions are caused by this inflammation. Here's another list. I just like lists. It helps. Repetition's the mother of all learning. More persistent oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, excess visceral fat, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. All these things lead to the chronic NF-kappa B upregulation leads to more and more problems with your health. There's another pretty picture. And this is how we looked at it in the Institute for Functional Medicine. Mild to moderate oxidative stress starts the priming of that Nrf2 pathway. And if you don't have the ability to respond to it because you have depleted antioxidant enzymes inside your body, you're going to end up with more and more inflammation. And then apoptosis means cell death. Death is bad. Life is good. Not so fast, free radical. The body protects from reactive oxidative species by enzymes. Enzymes are genes, are proteins, catalase, superoxide dismutase, and glutathione peroxidase. So these are the things that you've probably heard a few times. Those are the antioxidants our body makes on the inside. There are ones on the outside from the diet, vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids, flavonoids. Those are still healthy for you and they're still good for you, but they're not for their antioxidant value as much as they are helpful cofactors for reactions in your body. So like if you're going in the pool too often with chlorine, to decrease the effects of the chlorine, you could use some vitamin C. But that's different than what it's doing from an antioxidant capacity. So the key here with what we have our hands on is that when you turn on the body's ability to make its own antioxidant enzymes, kind of like an indirect antioxidant, you help your body to do what it's innately designed to do. You are designed and programmed to function. So here's where we have the entrance of nutrigenomics. This is where the scientific study of the interaction between nutrition and genes. And so many of us have believed for years and years that we are just a product of our genes, and we're not. We actually have the ability through changing our environment, our lifestyle, and especially what we put into our bodies that can activate our bodies, change the genetic expression. That's powerful. It's not even sci-fi, it's just beautiful. So nutrigenomics uses, this is all, by the way, I don't know if you can see it on the side. I copied this all from 2019 Institute for Functional Medicine on the side over there. A wide array of dietary phytochemicals act on the human genome, either directly or indirectly, to alter specific gene expression. Food is information. And food specifically combined like we have is awesome information. Here are ways that Nrf2 is activated in the body. Fasting, this is what they say that you can do. Fasting, ketogenic diets, carbohydrate restriction, caloric restriction, like the Prolon FMD fasting mimicking diet, that helps reduce your oxidative stress and increase Nrf2 activation. Chiropractic does, believe it or not. Turning off your Wi-Fi reduces it and helps your body to be better. All these things, these are the things that have been studied and what they understand, and the synergistic effect there, actions on multiple pathways. So therefore, having a good diet helps to activate these pathways. And then the hormetic Nrf2 activating phytochemicals. So hormesis means too much of a good thing is too much. And that's what's so cool about the synergy in our products. We found out that in 2019, right, Kathleen? Nodded the head on that one, on the study that showed just recently that our products do not accumulate in the body. So it's pretty amazing. Here's a little bit more about Nrf2, a protein that plays a crucial role in regulating the antioxidant gene induction. And these are all the big fancy letters and words, but basically it's a process that happens in the liver, turns on our antioxidants in phase 2. Probably have seen this graph at some point before. The classical antioxidants are towards the bottom. They play a role, but the ones that are the most important are the ones that our body makes, and those are depleted by our lifestyle. These are showing the anti-inflammatory effects of Nrf2. I want to pay special attention to that line right there. Nrf2 is involved in immune regulation. So people, theoretically people, but it was definitely mice in this study, the Nrf2 null, meaning they had no Nrf2 activation in them, develop autoimmune disease, multi-organ autoimmune inflammation, which resembles systemic lupus erythematosus in humans. So, I mean, don't hold back on sharing this information. And I'll show you a couple more slides. These are all different types of Nrf2 activators, plant constituents that are used for Nrf2. And then, as I mentioned before, those fancy words. And then this study was really cool just to show you. I don't know if you can see that one that looks just like a mountain, but that is protandem. And sulforaphane is the one that is promoted by everyone, and that's in the bottom. And it is not as effective as protandem Nrf2 at inducing the Nrf2 pathway, the nuclear erythroid factor 2 pathway that helps turn on the body's ability to make all of its own antioxidants and decrease the production of pro-inflammatory signals. People want easy these days. They want minimal interactions. They want bang for their buck. The best way to do it was with synergy. having the body have minimal ingredients added to it in one pill, pressed cold tablet that has infinitesimally super small dosages, subtherapeutic dosages of 5 plant ingredients that when they were perfectly combined made them 18 times or 1800% more effective than this by itself. Trust me when I tell you that activation is the future of medicine. It is the future of everything. All of the different supplement companies out there are coming out with a variety of different activators. That is really where they're going. People want synergy. They don't want 30 different bottles. There you go.
Wow. So for anybody who ever runs across somebody that just kind of poo-poos this or they don't get it, just know that they're talking about it up there, okay, in the science world. It just hasn't trickled down to mainstream yet.